They don't fight with fists. They don't fight with armies. They fight with money, lawyers, and press releases. And the damage they do lasts decades. In the last 30 years, the tech industry has produced more personal wealth than any sector in human history. And almost every dollar of it was built on a feud, a betrayal, a war. This is not a story about innovation. This is a story about ego, about legacy, about what happens when the smartest people in the world decide they hate each other. 6 feuds, 14 minutes. Let's go. Jobs versus Gates. The Showman versus the Operator of the Year is 1997. Apple is 90 days from bankruptcy. Steve Jobs has just returned. He walks into the boardroom, looks at a mess of printers, scanners, handheld devices, a dozen different Macs and says, "Stop. This is insane." He grabs a marker, draws a 2x2 grid. Consumer, professional desktop, portable, 4 boxers. This is all we're making. He kills 70% of Apple's product line in one sentence. Then he does something nobody expected. He calls Bill Gates. Gates was the king. Microsoft ran the world, and he could have let Apple die, finished his rival forever. Instead, he invested $150 million. On paper, it was a patent cross-license deal. Internet Explorer would be the default browser on Macs, but everyone knew the real reason. If Apple disappeared, the government would call Microsoft a monopoly. Gates needed a competitor, just weak enough to never win, but alive enough to keep regulators quiet. It was a chess move, cold, calculated. Jobs took the money. He smiled for the cameras, and then he spent the next decade building a weapon. Not a computer, an ecosystem. The iPod, the iPhone, the App Store. Every song you bought on iTunes trapped. Every app stuck. Every contact. Every photo. Every email locked inside Apple's garden. The moment you left, you lost everything. By 2010, Apple was worth more than Microsoft. Gates had built the operating system of the 20th century. Jobs had built the prison of the 21st. And the world lined up to hand him the keys. The feud never had a clean ending. Jobs died, still believing Gates had stolen his vision. Gates said he respected Jobs, but you could always tell he found the mysticism insufferable. 2 men, 2 philosophies, 1 era. Jobs versus Google, the stolen product. January 2007. The day the iPhone is announced, Larry Page and Sergey Brin are watching, and they understand immediately. If Apple controls the phone, Apple controls the internet. Every search, every ad, every click filtered through Steve Jobs' approval. Google would become a passenger in Apple's car. So Page buys Android for $50 million, gives it away for free to every manufacturer on the planet. No licensing fees, no restrictions. Samsung, HTC, LG, Motorola, all of them running Google's operating system overnight. Jobs went ballistic. He called it a stolen product. He told his biographer he would spend his last dying breath and every penny of Apple's $40 billion to destroy Android. He wasn't entirely wrong. Android did borrow from the iPhone, but that's not why he was angry. He was angry because Google did the one thing he couldn't counter. They gave it away. By 2012, Android had more users than iPhone. Jobs had lost the war for the operating system, but he had won the premium market, the high-end, the status symbol. Apple became the Rolex of phones. Google became everything else. Both made billions. Neither forgave the other. And when Jobs died in 2011, the war didn't die with him. It got passed to the next generation, and a new player who would make both of them look polite. Zuckerberg versus his own partners. The founder who eats other founders. Mark Zuckerberg has a pattern. He finds something he wants. He buys it. He promises the founders independence, and then he absorbs it completely. 2012, Facebook buys Instagram for $1 billion, 13 employees, a photo app. Everyone thinks Zuckerberg is insane, but he sees something nobody else does, the future of attention. And he knows if he doesn't buy it, Google will. He promises the founders, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, that Instagram will stay independent, that they'll keep control. Within 2 years, both are gone. Zuckerberg turned a beautiful app into a cash printer. The algorithm, the ads, the data. Systrom later said he felt like he'd been slowly strangled. Then he does it again. WhatsApp $19 billion, the biggest tech acquisition in history at the time. He promises the founders independence. Jan Koum and Brian Acton walk away with billions and a public statement that Zuckerberg destroyed everything they built. Acton was so furious, he donated $50 million to help build Signal, a direct competitor to WhatsApp. Zuckerberg didn't care. He was building a monopoly on human connection. But the same ruthlessness that made him a billionaire made him a target. By 2018, the world had turned on Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, election interference, mental health crises, and for the first time, Zuckerberg found himself playing defense. His response: pick a fight with Elon Musk. Musk versus Zuckerberg, the cage match nobody asked for and everyone watched. In 2023, Elon Musk launched X, the rebrand of Twitter he'd bought for $44 billion, and immediately started running into the ground. Advertisers were leaving. Users were confused. The chaos was real. Zuckerberg saw the opening. In 5 days, Meta launched Threads, a Twitter clone built directly on Instagram's infrastructure. 100 million users signed up in the first week. It was the fastest app launch in history. Musk's response was predictable. He tweeted insults. He posted memes. He challenged Zuckerberg to a cage fight. And then, in the strangest moment of the entire feud, Zuckerberg said yes. Suddenly, the two most powerful men in social media were training for an MMA fight. Zuckerberg was posting videos of himself doing jiu-jitsu. Musk claimed he was doing walrus training, whatever that means. Dana White from the UFC got involved. The world lost its mind. The fight never happened. But the feud was real, and it exposed something important. These men don't just compete for market share. They compete for cultural dominance, for who gets to define the internet, for whose vision of human connection wins. Musk wants a free-for-all. Zuckerberg wants a curated experience. Both are failing at their own stated goals, and neither will admit it. Musk versus Bezos, the war for space. Two of the richest men on the planet, both obsessed with space, both convinced they're the one who will save humanity, and neither willing to share the spotlight. In 2021, NASA awards a contract to SpaceX to build the next lunar lander. Not Blue Origin, Bezos' space company. Bezos is furious. He's spent billions. He has the engineers. He has the vision. Blue Origin sues NASA. The lawsuit fails, so Bezos does something extraordinary. He offers to pay NASA $2 billion out of his own pocket to reverse the decision. NASA says no. Musk doesn't let it go. He tweets, he mocks, he posts memes, comparing the two rockets side by side. He calls Blue Origin a manufacturing company that can't even make a door. It's brutal, it's public, and it's entirely one-sided. Because Bezos doesn't fight that way. He doesn't tweet, he doesn't meme, he doesn't engage. He builds, and he waits. In 2023, Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket finally reaches orbit. Bezos doesn't celebrate publicly. He doesn't post. He just goes back to work. But everyone in the industry knows what that launch means. The war for space has entered a new phase, and Bezos is playing the long game. The AI war. Altman, Musk, and Nadella. The feud that will define the next century. In 2015, Elon Musk co-founded OpenAI. The mission: build artificial intelligence safely, for the benefit of humanity, not for profit. Not for one company, for everyone. He left the board in 2018. Officially, conflict of interest with Tesla's AI work. Unofficially, he wanted control. He wanted to run OpenAI. Sam Altman, the CEO, said no. Musk never forgave him. When ChatGPT launched in 2022 and became the fastest-growing product in tech history, 100 million users, in 2 months, Musk's response was to sue OpenAI. He claimed they had abandoned the nonprofit mission. He called Altman a fraud. Altman's response was to keep building. But the more dangerous threat didn't come from Musk. It came from inside the building. November 2023. The OpenAI board fires Sam Altman. No warning. No public explanation. Just a press release saying he was not consistently candid. The tech world goes into shock. Employees threaten to quit en masse. Investors panic. And Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, the man who had quietly invested $13 billion into OpenAI, makes his move. He offers Altman a job at Microsoft. He offers the entire OpenAI team jobs at Microsoft. He forces the board to choose, and they blink. 5 days later, Altman is back. The board that fired him is gone. And Nadella, who never raised his voice, never tweeted, never appeared on a podcast to complain, had won the most important power struggle in the history of artificial intelligence. He didn't just win the battle. He sent a message to every tech billionaire in the world. I can destroy your company, and I can do it while smiling. The AI war isn't over. It's just getting started. Google has its own models. Meta has its own models. Amazon has its own models. And every single one of them is racing to build something that can think faster than a human. The stakes are higher than any feud before, because the winner of this war doesn't just get more money. They get to shape the future of intelligence itself. And that's the real story of Silicon Valley. It was never about innovation. It was never about changing the world. It was about power. Who has it? Who wants it? And what they're willing to do to keep it. Jobs wanted to build beautiful prisons. Gates wanted to build efficient cages. Zuckerberg wanted to own your attention. Musk wanted to own the future. Bezos wanted to own space. And Altman wanted to own the mind. They all got what they wanted, and they all hated each other for it. Because at the end of the day, billionaires don't fight over money. They don't fight over market share. They fight over legacy. They fight over who gets to be the one that history remembers. And in a world where everyone is building the future, there's only room for one name on the trophy. The next chapter of this story is being written right now. The next feud is already brewing, and the next billionaire is already planning their move. Next video, the rise and fall of WeWork. How a man with no product and a lot of charisma convinced the world he was a genius, and how it all collapsed. Se você não quer perder, se inscreve. Sai essa semana. See you in the next one.